In this tutorial, we'll learn how to create parsing rules for text-based source files. Parsing is a term used to describe how a localization tool reads in a source file and only shows the translatable text to users, leaving the rest of the file, the code, untouched. In Catalyst, parsing rules are defined in Tools, Options, ezParse. By default, most file types supported in Catalyst do not require to create custom rules to insert them in a project. The defined rules are categorized into file groups based on their nature or syntax. For instance, the first file group is the resource files, also known as executables. To the right, the file extension will show all the file extensions associated with resource files. This means that inserting any file with one of those extensions will have Catalyst use the resource files parsing rules. Each file group uses its own suitable parsing rules, which do not need any editing because the syntax found within is a defined set which Catalyst can expect. However, with text-based files, you need to define specific rules. This is because the syntax found within a text-based file cannot be predicted. It can be anything. When clicking on the text-based file group, additional interface appears below. It is the list of saved rules for the selected file extension. Scrolling down to the text file extension, there are already 5 rules available by default. In this tutorial, our sample file is a .properties file. Let's look at our sample. We have an ID, followed by an equal sign, followed by our translatable text within double quotes. Back in Catalyst. To create rules for this syntax, go to the Properties file extension. 2 default rules already exist. Let's create a new one. Click Add. Let's call this rule My First Properties. Now, with it highlighted, click Edit Method. Let's maximize the window to see it better. First, we load our sample file. This shows the content of the file on the left-hand side. It displays the contents just like in a text editor to help us create the parsing rules. The right-hand side will show the expected parsed text as we create the rule. At the moment, it shows nothing because we have no rule created. Defining text parsing rules consist of selecting text as the start tag and text as the end tag. Everything in between is the localizable string. The tag definition uses regular expression syntax. Once you click on the start tag entry field, you can right-click to get a list of typical special characters with a meaning in regular expressions. Because the translatable text is always found in quotes, we could define the start tag as a quote mark and the end tag also as a quote mark. If we click Preview, we can see the text parse in the original column in the preview area. We also can see the text highlighted in the source file frame. Red is the text selected as start tag, yellow is the text selected as end tag, and green is the text selected as translatable. Great, that was easy. But we also have IDs in the source file, and to improve leverage results, it is always best to parse IDs if available. If we return to the start tag definition, we can add more regular expression markup to select from the start of the string to the equal sign. This sign means the start of the line. Then we need to select all the text coming up to the equal sign. To do so, we use right-click and select any set excluding. Then we need to enter the equal sign, which is the character we are excluding. This will only select one character, so we need to add the star sign. If we click preview again, we see the text in red is what our start tag regular expression selects. We need to extend it to select the equal sign, the space leading to the quotes. Add space, equal sign, space, followed by a quote, and click preview. We are back to the same level we were at earlier, using just the quotes to delimiter the translatable text. However, now we can define the part of the start tag which will be read as ID for the string. This is from the start of the string to the last character before the space. We add parentheses around a regular expression which selects this part. The opening parenthesis will go here, and the closing parenthesis will be placed here. With those in place, click the complete regular expression column for more options. There we can not only edit start and end tags, we can also alter the regular expression which select the translatable text in between. We can also define that our segment has an ID by ticking the checkbox, segment have IDs. This enables a spin control which selects which group or parenthesis pair is our ID. Clicking the up arrow selects 0, which is the first pair of parentheses as seen below in the regular expression field. The first parenthesis is the whole regular expression. Click the up arrow again to select the parentheses we added earlier. This is group 2. Click OK and click preview to see the results of our update. We now see some of the text in purple, highlighted what is selected as ID. We can also see the ID reflected in the column, although we have a problem with a context line selected as an ID. We need to define strings started with hash signs as context string. This is done in the context string section. Click the start tag entry field. Enter the @ sign followed by hash as the character. Now, note how Catalyst cleverly shows us what the file is using as the end-of-line character or EOL sequence. We can use it as our end tag in this case, since we want to select any line starting with hash sign as context string. Click the end tag line and enter \r\n. Click preview to see our completed text parsing rule. We have seen how, using regular expressions, we can select a start tag and end tag to parse the localizable text in a text-based file. You can also select an ID, if available, and identify specific syntax as context strings which are not parsed for translation. Click OK to exit the editing of the parsing rule, and click OK to save your parsing rule. We are now ready to insert the file in a Catalyst project. We start a project and right-click to insert a file. Select text-based files and select our sample file. This triggers Catalyst to prompt for the rule to use because we have more than one rule created for .properties file types. Select the rule we just created and click OK. Here's our file parsed and ready for translation. We can see the ID in the ID column and the original text without the quote marks in the original column.